Hey guys, what's going on? This is RJ Game News USA here. Back today with another game review score session, we'll call it. So, this is really the first game we're looking over from 2026 that got reviews, a major game people are talking about. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't. I'm talking about Code Violet. Let's jump into it. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Code Violet, I don't know if you know much about it, to be completely honest. It looks kind of like a Stellar Blade ripoff. It's got a sexy protagonist. It got a 38 overall on Metacritic. For those of you who don't know, that is extremely bad. That is going to end up being one of the worst games of the year, even at the end of the year, for a review. So we're going to jump into some of these review scores, and we're going to jump into some of these user scores. That being said, call me a gooner. I've kind of been looking at this game and almost want to buy it. But we're going to see if I can be persuaded to just not waste my money just to look at boobies. Anyway, let's continue. We have one mixed review and 7 negative reviews out of 8 reviews total. So this game wasn't really reviewed heavily by the critics. We'll also look at some user scores too. But COG Go Connected, with their mixed review of 55 as the high score, says Code Violet falls short of its inspirations. Although the concise adventure has some strong moments with some great interior environments, it fails to create menacing enemies that evoke fear in the player. Bugs hinder the experience, often leading to clumsy moments. Yep, game bugs seem to be an issue here. Spazio Games with a 45, we're in the negative reviews now, saying Code Violet is one of those games that is born convinced it has something to say and dies without ever really finding the right words. It leans on powerful imagery, uses it as a crutch, and then lets it fall, unable to stand on its own. A spectacular failure. Game 8 with the 42 says, has the self-proclaimed torchbearer of one of the industry's cult classics, Code Violet fails to meet the standards or even do a decent job of representing the action horror survival genre. Okay, so it's an action horror survival game. Got it. I'm definitely less interested. Push Square with a 40 says Code Violet is a mess. Crummy combat, tedious exploration, technical problems. The sexy costumes and horny camera work seem at odds with both Violet has a character and the tone of the writing. You know, at least Push Square is going to address it a little bit. You know, there's a game called Lollipop Chainsaw that knows what it is and does what it needs to do. A game like Stellar Blade knows what it is and does what it needs to do. But essentially, Code Violet trying to put lipstick on a pig here by trying to give you a sexy protagonist doesn't stop the fact that it's just a bad game. And this is not an issue of, the reviewers are woke! The reviewers are woke because she's a hot protagonist. No, by the sounds of it, looks like there's some legitimate issues here. IGN Spain with a 40 says Code Violet was expected to be the spiritual successor to Dino Crisis, but expectations have taken their toll. Team Kill Media repeats the same mistakes it made with Quantum Error, with a shooter that borrows elements from various survival horror games without fully understanding them. IGN, the main IGN website, gave it a 40 as well, saying Code Violet is not the Dino Crisis successor you may have hoped for. It doesn't even clear the bar of being a successful clone of the various other third-person shooters it cribs most of its ideas from. Its dated map layout and visual style let its predecessors down. Damn, that's some harsh words. We do have a couple 20s here, has the low score, starting with Noisy Pixel, saying Code Violet is a deeply flawed survival horror title that struggles to justify its existence, while it offers occasional moments of visual density and fan service appeal. Its lack of a coherent design, constant technical issues, and frustrating gameplay mechanics to its core hurt it. And Saudi Gamer, lastly with a 20, says Code Violet was such a depressing experience. Nothing works in this game, and even when it does, it wasn't even interesting to keep me going. Wow. So you'd think, maybe, just maybe, this is the woke media just upset at a sexy protagonist? Well, think again, boys. Because the user scores, which is always, you want to see how far off it is from the critics, the user scores are actually more negative for this game than the reviewers, giving it a 2.7 out of 10. And there's 104 reviews here. We will not read them all, but just to get an idea what the audience is saying, we have 17 positive, 13 mixed, and 76 negative reviews. I see a whole shitload of zeros on here. I'll read one of them. Heisenberg W, with a 0, said $50 for a low-quality, undercooked, and buggy game with AI-generated content. Wow. And we have another 0 from 98 Suko, saying vulgar mods, they said. Let me make a translation. On Steam, players can essentially get refunds and see the number of players in the game. We cannot allow that. And Amplifeeder with a 1 says, I wasn't expecting anything and I still left disappointed. This company has the distinction of making all of its games the worst of this PS5 generation. We have a 6 from XG4M3R21X who says, Code Violet isn't perfect and not a long game, but it's unique visually and atmospheric. The game can look really good. Sure, the enemy AI could have been better, and $50 is a bit steep of an asking price point. That should have been more like $30, but overall I enjoyed it. Gadonza with a 0 in a different language, so we'll skip him. We do have a 10 from MGR Crine saying, love the game. Many critics, me big fan of the game, and yes, I loved it. People talk about bugs and crashes. Haven't experienced anything like that at all. Most are just upset the game didn't release on PC once again. I have to mention this, and that's today's games. Many have problems. I don't know. This guy may need his mental capacities checked. We got Claro7 with a 0 saying uninspired slop with vulgar outfits that reflect their own hypocrisy. I was hoping for this one to be the successor of Dino Crisis, but it wasn't a pleasant experience and just a waste of money. Again, I do think if you're into the vulgar outfits, you could just watch a Let's Play of it. I'm considering getting the game just to do that. But to be completely honest, a game like Bayonetta, for example, like Bayonetta 2 and Bayonetta 3, is really fucking good, and she could be skimpy. A game like Stellar Blade could be really fucking good, and yet she could dress skimpy. Just because she's skimpy doesn't make it good. Lollipop Chainsaw is a pretty mediocre game, and she dresses skimpy. Makes it better, right? But when a game's bad, it doesn't matter how skimpy she dresses. It just doesn't. Sepster with a 1 saying, I really don't recommend anyone buying this game on full price, maybe on a heavy discount like 80% if you want to play it. There's a reason they only released it on PS5. No refund unless a large amount of people ask Sony, which won't happen with this game. It has clunky combat. I'm just seeing a bunch of zeros in these user scores, man. It's getting review bombed to hell. I got a 9 here from Tate saying, I never review games. Completely unjust that this game is getting review bombed by everyone. It's a fun game. Certainly has its flaws, but the dev team of 4 are actively taking feedback for improvements. Interesting take. Mammon with a 0 saying the worst game in recent memory. Don't buy unless you're a masochist and your idea of time is to torture yourself with a broken, messy game. Again, not a fan of broken, messy games here, so I think I'm going to avoid this one. I don't want it to fucking crash my YouTube when I try to stream it, or anything like that. So I think I'm going to have to give this one a pass, guys. I don't think I'm going to recommend this. I did watch Penguin Zero play some of this, just to watch. And yeah, the camera angles are clearly like trying to like upskirt the protagonist as she's crawling. And it's like, that's fun for a little while, but at that point, there's other websites and there's other ways to take care of things besides paying $50 for this video game, if you know what I'm saying. So anyway, guys, overall, it's kind of a laughingstock of a game. But, I don't know, leave your thoughts in the comments below. This is RJ signing out. Have a good one.